Morning, y'all. It's Mad Monday. It's Monday, so I'm mad. So is everybody well aware of that by now? But I do concur with and agree with Channel's prayer. I believe God's hands on your life. A couple things I want to talk to you about it. And again, these are basics, all right? And what's interesting, though, for me in having the last month or so, I've been really seeking God and in prayer. We've got a tremendous foundation of basics that we've laid here that we can build off of. And I think that's the key to everything we do is what we're building. And it starts with, of course, the people, staff, volunteers, our elders, our leaders. You know, we can't look at anybody, me included, as finished products. We're all in the process of being built. And then we have to look at, we create programs, and then we build those programs. But it all gets us to the why. That's what all the building is about, is the why. And I think too often, especially people that go from their 20s into their 30s, into their 40s, into their 50s, there's little changes that happen, and we have to guard ourselves. And this is something that, you know, as dramatically as you can hear this, I want you to. But you have to guard yourself from seeking the reward more than the rewarder. You know, what motivates you, or what, well, of course, time off or money or perks or whatever it is. What has to motivate you is the rewarder. What has to motivate you is the why. And in looking at it, then if your why is clear, and you guys have heard this 100 ways better than how I'm communicating it right now, but if your why is crystal clear, then, man, those momentary setbacks and those temptations to seek the reward really aren't going to lay hold of you. And they're going to bounce off. And sometimes they're going to leave a bruise. Sometimes you might need a stitch or two. But we always have to go back to our first love. We always have to go back to the reason why we're here, the reason why you came into the internship, the reason why. And in order to do that, there's some simple things that we have to maintain in our lives. Like you may maintain your weight, or you may maintain your sleep patterns, or you may maintain your work schedule, or you may maintain your promptness, or your on time behavior. But I think what is pivotally important that I see in what we do, because it's every week, is we have to maintain our passion. We have to maintain our drive. We have to maintain our tempo. Those are those things that we have to maintain. And that's where the word is clear and says we have to maintain love and good works. Well, the good works that's our passion. That's our drive. That's our tempo. That's our timing. You know, I think about yesterday. If we would look at the video, there were probably half a dozen times during the message that we missed a moment. I missed a moment. There's probably that many times during the music where we missed a moment. Well, you know, a part of these programs, we have to understand that they have to be able to capture those moments. Those moments, I'll tell you, in church, dealing with people's souls, their emotions are involved, moments are pivotal. I had a moment where the guy said, you can't go to Rhema. You haven't been a Christian long enough. I had a moment where it's like, Well, by God, I'm going. You've had moments in your life. I remember I had a moment with Sandy, and it's like, oh my gosh. And I saw her deeper than I'd ever seen her. And we were dating. And you know, it's interesting, but because we have those moments, and we have an opportunity. You think about this room being full of people, that we have the opportunity to create moments for them in their life. Moments to get to know God better, to know God as the healer, to know God as Savior, to know God as our provider, to know God as our shelter, to know God as our shield, to know God as our comforter, to know God as our peace. See, we create these moments, and that's what our programs have to do. Please listen to this, because a lot of you guys oversee programs and maintain programs. Well, without passion and drive and tempo, we're going to miss these moments. So if we think about a dozen scoring opportunities yesterday, that's what keeps us good and not great. You know, I think the only difference between good leaders and great leaders, between good disciples and great disciples, is one key thing, and it's consistency. And who among us are consistently great? See, and that's what we have to do. And see, that's what we have to put our time to. Give yourself to maintain love and good works. Give yourself, but there's all kinds of things that take our focus. And there's little things that become the real true distractions to our success. Because the bottom line is there's two things we have to be great at. And really, I say that because we have to create, establish, maintain programs. Have to. Okay? And you'll say, well, why? Why do we maintain programs? Because we have 30 acres. And those 30 acres house the programs. And what do the programs do? The programs are designed to create moments and equip people. See, so programs are a big deal. Programs are more of a priority than our property. And we've got an $8 or $10 million property here. It's not exorbitant, but it has some value. But see, so there's the property that houses the programs that helps build and establish and equip the people. See, and that's where we gather them and to fulfill God's purpose. And the purpose of God in this church is to connect people in. So you guys have heard, every one of you guys have heard this since day one of your employment or your internship or even your leadership development. From day one here, the three things that you have to be great at, not the three things you do, the three things you have to be great at is communication, problem solving, and teamwork. Communication, problem solving, and building teams. Team trust, teamwork, building teams. Go back to Ephesians 4. The 7 duties of ministry, what are they? See, you've got to have those handy. You've got to keep those in front of you. Yesterday's message is the most important 40 minutes of your week. You have to be ferocious note takers. You have to listen to it again and listen to it again and get the points out of it. The little drops that come from heaven that weren't planned in the service, those moments. But we have to gather and connect. Gather and connect. And greeting and connecting are not the same thing. Greeting's the opening. Greeting might be the first impression. It's huge. And you know what? We have to have a team that has world-class people who gather and people who connect. And they very well may not be the same people. And we can't just be connected, listen, to what we do. We have to be connected to the who that gets us connected to the why. See, and you might be a great singer, you might be a great kids minister, but if you're not a connector, there's not going to be the heavenly promotion in our lives come from us gathering and connecting, because that is the central point of God's heart for the local church, for ministry. And I'm telling you, that's our sole purpose of why we spend so much time here. We have to create, we have to establish and maintain programs, and it leads us to the top two, that we gather people and we connect. So are we offering what people want? Are we offering what people need? And here's a huge question today. Are we irresistible? And I think it's just like raising kids. We want to raise lovable kids. You want your kid to be lovable. But our kids go through little phases, little things that make them not as lovable. And it's trying, but the bottom line is someone's got to take the lead. And a part of taking the lead is having control, and that's what prosperity is, that you're truly in control of your life, you're in control of your house. So parental prosperity is you're in control of your kids are under control. And it's not in a dictatorship way, although it kind of is. See, but we have to be people that we have to gather and connect. In order to do that, we've got to be irresistible. And I'll just tell you this. As an athlete, I've heard this all my life, that you don't want to do things in the game that you haven't practiced. Man, we're wondering how that wide receiver for the Giants can make those one-handed catches. Well, it's because he's done it 1,000 times. He did it every single day at LSU. They made a game of it where they could only catch with one hand. He'd go through entire weeks of practice where he'd only catch with one hand, and he wouldn't drop near the amount of balls that people with two hands had dropped during practice. You think about a football program. They don't just count the drops in a game. They count drops at practice. They count drops in the off season. They're watching as guys are warming up and quarterbacks are throwing. Man, they're watching videotape of those guys in the warm-ups just flipping the ball back and forth. They don't want them dropping balls from a shotgun snap. They don't want them. They want guys they can trust to catch that ball. Well, how you practice and how you see this. It's not practice makes perfect. Your practice has to become perfect for you to be perfecting. It's not just repetition. It's us being consistently great in what we do. Not just great once in a while. See, and you've got to, and I'll tell you, the most important thing that you can do is what you're doing right now is you find your lane and you're consistently great at it. You may not want to do it the rest of your life, but I'll tell you, whatever you're doing right now, Dustin, what are you doing right now? He's making videos. If he's consistently great, let me tell you something, that'll be a honey hole for him the rest of his life. And let me tell you, the bottom line is, those kind of things find us. You know, it's interesting because in sports they'll say that as well. The ball will find you. You know, you make a bad play or the ball's going to find you. Man, you've got to rebound from that. But we've got to gather and connect. And we've got to, and I'm hoping there's a conviction about this room that we've got to get better at it. Because I think the way things are in our society today, things appear and disappear so quickly, it's phenomenal to me. It's everything, the pace of things are so quick. And we have to understand that there are things that are never going to change about the church. No matter what happens with phones or computers or the internet or social media, man, I'll tell you, the sick and hurting, the poor, they're always going to be around. And those are people that the gospel always targets. And you don't know how many people woke up today and are going to make a decision this week to wreck their marriage. You don't know how many people today are going to make a decision to be texting while they drive and run into somebody and cause an accident and hurt somebody. And those are life-changing events that we've got to be ready to catch people when they fall. So I'm just telling you, you're gonna go to department meetings. You're gonna go and count your beans and put out your fires and do all the stuff that you're gonna do, but you can't lose sight of the primary purpose of you being in this room today is to gather and connect. And if we're not world class at that, if we don't have world class people who gather and world class people who connect, we're not going to be irresistible. I mean, really, for real, Tulsa, Oklahoma has hundreds of very resistible churches. And maybe a half a dozen irresistible churches. And I think we go back to the two paths, the two routes. One's wide and well-traveled, one's narrow and it's a squeeze. I think it's going to cost you time. I think it's going to cost you energy. I think it might cost you a little money. People may not notice that you're connecting as well as you do, so you're not going to get that spiff or bonus because it didn't catch somebody's eye. Can I tell you that's a great place for you to be? Because what God will do is He will reward you heavenly, now listen, and openly. So man, I see you doing something and I'll throw a couple $100 at you and you're like, oh good, I can get those new pair of flip-flops I've wanted. Or God can reward you openly and you're rewarded for the rest of your life. See, because the way God's blessing works is it's all repercussive. God wants to bless you so much that in you all the families of the earth will be blessed. See, that blessing of Abraham isn't, Abraham has to take responsibility for it, but it's not, it's conditional upon him, but it doesn't come from him. It doesn't come from me. It doesn't come from you. It comes from God. And God's going to see His word through. Trust me. He's just finding who he can trust to deliver it. Are there any questions or any comments as I pause? None of this is stuff you've heard the first time. Remember, it's Mad Monday. You better ask a question or make a comment or die. Chris Abbott?
So when you say irresistible, can you give us a couple of examples and expand on that a little?
Yeah, I think you break that down. Somebody Google irresistible, I think it'll be clear, and let me know what it is. But I think it's people have to come back. People have to see what we're doing and think, man, I want to be a part of that. You know, these clubs have to be irresistible. So if you guys are counting on someone else to do it, if Jeremy's just thinking, no, that's great because Nathaniel will take care of it. He loves to do it. I don't want to do it. I just want to go find a fishing hole and be by myself. That doesn't fit the culture. That doesn't mean you don't find time away. It does mean you have to be a part of the solution to make these clubs irresistible. But that they just want, who got a definition of irresistible? What is it? Too powerful and what? Yeah. We have to be powerful and too convincing for people to resist us. Because you know what? At the end of the day, you look at the 7 deadly sins. Anybody know what they are? What's one? Lust. What's another one? What? Like a gluttony. What's another one? Sloth. What's another one? Envy. What's another one? Pride. What's another one? Are you guessing or are you saying it? You remember from what? And oh my gosh. Envy. Well, how many is that? That's 5 or 6. No one's Googled it yet? Oh, so we're firing that intern for having that phone? It's a trick question. Man, pregnant women are a dime a dozen around here. Right, Sunday? Did you finish your breakfast? My grandparents got through the winter on that much food. What'd she say? She say, shut up or I'll shoot you. Now, we've had people leave the church because I haven't given them a hard time because they were pregnant. So now there's pressure on me to do it. I got to come up with creative ways to do it. So did that answer your question? Powerfully and convincingly, too powerfully and convincing for people to resist us.